Hello, everyone. Here's my presentation. And basically, what my paper is going to talk about is the relationships between student and teacher within Islamic education. And, forming a strong teacher student, master pupil relationship. It's been a very eminent, poignant theme in Islamic education throughout history. Teachers were supposed to establish not only, educational, but personal relationships with their students. Just to pull for an example, during the second caliph of Islam, there were 4,000 students under the watch of Hazrat Muaz Jabal, and he established a personal relationship with basically all of his students, 4,000. So that's crazy. And appreciation. It was thought that appreciation from teachers helps students build up their confidence and helps them achieve greatness and educational excellence. And Muslim teachers used to encourage, and they really appreciated students' outstanding or excellent achievements. And according to Al-Ghazali, who we all know is famous Islamic philosopher, theologian, said that the student who is obedient to his teacher, having good morals, and shows an excellent performance in academia should be honored and praised in public so as to be encouraged and to incite others to imitate him. But there was also concepts of punishment among the scholars, or the ideas of how should teachers punish their students if they do something bad. And Muslim teachers, professors, and so forth, they had different opinions and thoughts regarding punishment for students. But the idea of beating a student was rejected by all Muslim educationalists basically alike. It was just not even thought of. And the whole purpose of punishment was to make students disciplined and basically to help them develop good morals. And it's also interesting to add that Ibn e Khaldun, apologies for my bad pronunciation, Ibn e Khaldun, who was a famous Islamic socialist and philosopher around the 13th century, was totally against even minor forms of punishment. He thought that punishment would have a negative effect on students and it would make them basically rebel against education. And one of the main qualities, obviously, from what I've said so far, is that students form strong personal as well as spiritual relationships with their teacher, and importantly, they would consider it an act of virtue. This relationship with their teacher, and it was believed that failure in creating this relationship would lead basically to useless knowledge. So these strong bonds, these personal relationships, were based on things such as obedience, respect, trust, and so forth. And so in Sufism, the master or teacher, otherwise known as the sheikh, the Sikh, again, apologies for the pronunciation, and the pupils or students, otherwise known as murid, these relationships between master and pupil, as crazy as it might sound, could seem much stronger in ways than a relationship even with God or Allah. So it's crazy to even say that a relationship between a student and a pupil could seem even stronger than that of a relationship with God. So going into etiquettes of learning, Muslim scholars had a very huge emphasis on etiquettes of gaining knowledge per se. So there are considered five steps for acquiring knowledge. First is to be silent. Second is to listen with concentration. And third is good questioning. Fourth is memorization. And fifth is preaching the person capable of basically retaining the knowledge. So going into the ideas surrounding obedience and humbleness, it was considered one of the main primary attributes for a student in Islamic education. So in tune with that, non-obedient and egotistical attitude that a student had was faulted by Muslim scholars. So acquiring knowledge is not attainable, isn't possible without obedience and humbleness. And according to, once again, like I said before, Al-Ghazali, our famous philosopher, he said students must obey the instructions of teachers solemnly. And to add, he said that knowledge was the enemy of arrogance, so a student should be the model of humbleness. And then Al-Ghazali goes on to quote the prophet Hazrat Musa, or as we know him in Christianity, Moses, and Hazrat Qadir, and says that Moses could not show patience towards the actions of Hazrat Qadir, so they basically just went their separate ways. So another big theme, which I'm going to talk about among the relationship between student and master, student and teacher, is respect and a student's respectful behavior towards his teacher. Al-Ghazali actually thought that students should respect their teacher even more so than their parents. And his whole thought is that your parents bring you into the mortal world, but your teacher makes you immortal through education. And then we have the, as we all know, the Holy Prophet Muhammad. He recommended that his followers respect and interact with the scholars politely. And it's actually reported that Muhammad said that respecting an elder Muslim or religious scholar, teacher, etc., was basically the same as respecting Allah. Thank you very much.